Hello, today I would like to talk about the social contract theory, one of the most difficult lessons in our course. Please listen very carefully. Before discussing today's topic, you will need to know these two words, sovereign and sovereignty. Sovereign is a noun and it means a person who has the highest power to rule the country. Sovereignty is also a noun that means the authority to govern. So a sovereign is a person, sovereignty is the authority and power. Take a look at this painting. What do you see? Where is this place? This is inside the church. Who are the persons at the center of the painting? Who is this person sitting at a higher place? He's not a Santa Claus. He's a priest, and he's the top of the church, and it is called the Pope. He's the highest person in the church. Now you can see this person at the right kneeling down. Who is this person? He is the king. Why is this king kneeling down before the Pope? What is he doing? This painting describes when a king is being crowned by the Pope. This is called the coronation. This is the moment when a person becomes a king, and the king has the power to control his people because his power is given by God through the Pope. At this moment, this king became a real sovereign. The person has the highest authority to rule the people. Because the king has permission to rule his people by the church, his power became the strongest and holy. That is why the people follow the king's order. Now, king and God are almost equal. Next, I would like you to watch a short video clip on YouTube. In this video, you will see the King Charles VII of France being crowned by the Pope in the church. You will get some ideas of how king is given permission by God to rule the people. This is a church ceremony in the 15th century. In this video, you will see an ordinary man wearing a simple white cloth walks to the front of the church. Later, he is given all kinds of preparation to be given permission to be a king. At the end of the film, king is now given the crown, a symbol of the ruler of the people. Now crowned, this man is the king, sitting at the right-hand side of the church, meaning he is the highest person in the church. Now the Pope vows to the king, saying, "King, you are now the ruler of the people." The film finishes by showing a man shouting, "Vivat Rex in aeternum." In Latin, it means, "May the king live long." Okay, let's review the relationship between the church and the king and the pope. You have the pope in the church. He is the highest person in the Catholic Church. You have the king here. As you saw in the film, the king's power to rule his people is given by the church through the pope. In this way, the king has sovereignty. Sovereignty comes from God. The people need to obey and they follow the king. He is not only the leader of the people, but his power is the same as God's power. What the king tells you is the same thing as God tells you to do. In this way, the monarchy in the medieval age, the king's position was very high because the king was equal to God. Now, as time goes by, people gradually started to doubt this monarchy system. People started to discuss among themselves. Well, we have been taught that the king's power was equal to God, so we had to obey the king. But is it really correct? Now the king's power has become too strong. Now he does everything he wants. That's not good, is it? Is the king the same as God? No, that's not correct, people started to say. And also they started to say, why does the king decide about our country? Does the king really have the sovereignty? No, we, the people, should decide things about our own country, not the king. So this movement is called the Renaissance, starting from the 14th to 15th centuries until about the 17th century in Europe. Simply put, the people said, King, stay out of politics. Now there's a question. If the king does not rule the state, then who rules the state? How much power should the state have towards the people? The clever person in England who tried to answer these questions was Mr. Thomas Hobbes. He asked two questions. Before any government existed in our society, how were people living? What kind of relations did people have among themselves? A long time ago, when there was no government, according to Hobbes, he said the world was such that everyone was competing and fighting amongst each other for survival. Why? Because there were no laws, people were selfish, they did not trust each other, so they had to protect themselves from their own survival. Hobbes called this earlier human nature the state of nature. And according to Hobbes, the state of nature before we had government was such that everyone was competing and fighting amongst each other. In this state of nature, people had two kinds of rights. One, everyone had the right to stay alive. And two, so everyone has the right to do whatever necessary to survive. If it is necessary, people have to kill other people. So according to Hobbes, when there was no state, people were competing with each other, fighting each other, and killing each other. Why? Because people could not trust each other and they had to protect themselves. Here comes the important thing. Instead of people are competing with each other and fighting each other for survival, we can have a contract between the people and the state. The people give up their rights to kill each other and compete with each other. The people also promise to the state not to steal from anyone and not to kill each other. But instead, the state promises to the people to protect the people. Later, a philosopher called Jean-Jacques Rousseau said, "No, I think Thomas Hobbes' explanation was wrong. I don't agree with Hobbes." Rousseau said Hobbes' idea that the state of nature where people were competing and killing each other is wrong. Earlier, Hobbes said people were killing each other and competing with each other, not trusting each other. Is that right? Rousseau said they weren't that bad. There were no laws at the time, that's true. But because there were no laws, people were not selfish, but they had to take care of their lives, such as food, houses, and clothes. People cared about each other within the community they lived in. Perhaps there were some people who stole and killed. Among the people in the community, they made their own community rules not to do such things. This, according to Rousseau, is the true state of nature. So, the state of nature, according to Rousseau, is different from Hobbes' idea. Rousseau thought that the state of nature was such that there were no laws among the people, but because of that, people rather took care of their lives, such as food, house, clothes, and so on, and took care of each other within the community they lived in. But because there were still some people who stole things and killed other people in the community, they made their own community rules not to do such things. Therefore, Rousseau thinks that the people and the state makes a contract so that all the people in the country follow the common rules. The state makes common rules and takes care of their things necessary for their living, such as food and other things. And instead, the people follow those rules so that they don't steal from others and kill other people.